Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show before the free show. It's been about months, approximately, since I've said that. But it's been months since Boomy's back!
Wow.
Boo!
Wow.
Welcome back, bud.
Thanks. It's good to be back.
Is
I
it,
don't
though?
mean that.
No, I know you don't.
I do, though. Okay. So I've been
You meant
away.
back here, not back here with me.
I've been away.
You have.
To
your home planet.
I've been back at my home planet. I've been on some paternity leave, which first and foremost, I just have to thank the company, and I have to thank the president of our company, Adam, and
it's a good box to check.
And all the people who made that possible. There's a lot of places that I think there's a lot of people who can't do that, and so I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful to have been able to take that time. I'm grateful for you and Ish and Craven and Mallory and all the people who filled in on the show while I was gone. But I have not been on the show. Do you know when my last show was? Do you know when my last show was?
I'm telling you, okay, we did those 2 random shows kind of during December, but other than that, it's been
December 21st.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, that was only those 2 random shows and then the one that Monday before state. So in the past 2 months, it's basically been since November.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, but I'm back. It was really good to be home. My mom told me this at some point during the break. She goes, the next time you have this much time off, you'll probably be retired. And it's yeah, that's probably true. I mean, I took 3.5 weeks off.
Yeah.
Which I have not. I have not worked for 3.5 weeks.
Right.
Since I was in college.
Well, and that was the thing, is it seemed even longer just because we had state championships. Obviously, you were super busy and were working, but we never really saw you. You know what I'm saying? As
far as having no I just had responsibilities. But as far as having no work or school, the last time that happened would be the summer after my junior year in high school.
Yeah,
it's been a long
realistic.
time.
I was
because I had internships when I was in college and stuff like that.
You worked in the summers probably a little bit.
So, but it's been really nice. It's been really nice, and it to go home for a couple of reasons. One, I was actually able to be helpful around the house.
Yeah,
which for a change, having. I'm not breaking any news to anybody who has a newborn or who has had a newborn or been around a newborn. It's a lot of work, and it's not just the newborn, but it's also all the stuff that involves all the laundry and things.
Well, you have another little one too.
There's also Hank rather, and so to be helpful and to have that opportunity to spend that time with my family during those first few weeks has been really special. Max and Hank are doing great. My wife's doing great.
My wife.
And it's been.
I haven't gotten to do that in a long time.
It's been really really nice. So
good.
But I will say this, because my wife asked me yesterday. She's like, "Are you ready to go back?" And no,
Yeah.
If you're giving me the answer of could I continue to get paid without. But not go to work. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
But, I do love my job,
right,
as you guys know. But I do feel refreshed.
Good.
I disconnected.
Yeah.
As you know, I checked my email maybe twice during the 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, no,
which is crazy for me. You know how I am.
Oh yeah, I barely we made it. You didn't listen to the podcast, but we made a joke. At one point, someone came on.
No, I did not.
Who,
Let me be clear.
Oh, they know. We told them about what you said.
I did not watch. I watched the show for 30 seconds, and then I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. That's work.
There was at one point in maybe we'll say a week and a half ago, someone came on who hadn't been watching the show over the holidays and stuff, and they came on and they go, "Oh, did Tepper quit?" ? And Mallory and
wish.
And Mallory said it out loud, kind of joking, and I said, "You know what? To be honest," I said, "I don't know. He honestly could have, and we'll be assuming that he's going to show up on January 18th, Tuesday, January 18th, and we get here, and it's just nope.
Just
all right,
ghost.
Well, keep going, I guess."
Yeah.
But we were like, we honestly cannot answer that.
It was
very honestly.
It's been great. I made a lot of. I was in charge of. I'm very worried about my wife today, because like I've been making all the lunches.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've been, that's been my job. And so yeah, it's good to be back.
Mm-hmm.
I missed you. I missed all the people around here.
Well, we're glad to have you.
I missed you nerds, and it's good to be back talking some football. I've got some takes to get off my chest, so let's not waste any time. Hit the theme, Expo. Pickle. Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Louisville, Texas. It's Texas Football Today, a show whose chair has been sat in. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. There's blonde hair all over the place. Terrible. My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, texasfootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live on texasfootball.com, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, or today for the first time.
Let's go.
On Twitter.
Woo.
We're going to try to do that on Twitter every day. Or you'll listen to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there, back in her perch.
Yeah.
Here to do the Dallas Cowboys post-game show. It's the Duchess of the Dorks, Ashley Pickle.
Post-game show?
I felt bad for
you. If you're looking for an offensive coordinator, Jerry,
I felt bad.
I got you.
I felt bad for you. I really did. I have a lot of friends who are Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
You were the one I was thinking of, though. As that was unfolding, I was like, "Oh, Pickle's going to take this hard." Because here's the thing:
it hurt.
You'd gotten gassed up about him.
I did.
You were gassed up.
I was waving the flag like I always am, but this year it felt different. It in fact was narrator. It in fact was not different.
You got gaslit by the Cowboys.
I
felt bad.
That was a poopy reality when that happened. I just wish that if they were going to lose, just lose the whole time.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and pull at my heartstrings like that. It with a minute left.
Sorry, friend. Today is Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. I'm going to have to use it saying all that nonsense. 310 days till Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Kevin Costner. Oh. I had to look it up. This is episode 1314. Yeah. I had to look it up. I had to go back in the archive to be like, all right, it'll be count. On today's show, guys, we got headlines from across the state, including some pretty seismic high school football coaching changes. We're going to look into the transfer portal, see what's going on there. And a friend of the show has a new job. We'll talk about that, which I didn't include in the headlines, by the way. Then we're going to unveil the 2021 Whataburger Super Team. You voted. It's time to unveil the honorees for the 2021 Whataburger Super Team. Excited to unveil them. In the back half of the show, I have been off for a month, but I haven't been not thinking about football. I got some old news I've got to give you some takes on.
As soon as I saw that in my Slack, I was like, this guy.
Like,
we've talked about all this.
I know, but there's a few things I need to say, okay? I haven't been on this show in a month. Just let me get these off my chest, okay?
You get one day.
Exactly
get
right.
one day.
And then it'll be nothing but new news from then on out. So, do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. Daniel Agnew, Rob Hadaway, Aaron Arbuckle, and Ryan Smigo. Welcome in, fellas.
Welcome in. All right. Oh, by the way, the most important thing before we get going. If you have not, I know you guys have mentioned it on the show and it's been on the website and stuff like that. If you have not donated to Matt Sepp's GoFundMe, go donate to Matt Sepp's GoFundMe. If you donate $20 or more today and you send Pickle a screenshot at Ashley Pickle or me, Ashley _Pickle 12 or at Tepper, we'll read your name on the air tomorrow. How about that? $20 or more, send us a screenshot. We'll read your name. We'll thank you on the air tomorrow. But Matt Sepp is going through some medical stuff right now.
He's in the comments right now, actually.
Sounds like he's getting better.
Yeah.
Well, he's in the comments. Okay, he's feeling better. But $20 or more, send us a screenshot, and we'd be happy to read your name on the air tomorrow. That's the best that I can do as far as, I don't know. How about Step?
Hoorah.
Hoorah. Anyway. Pickle, let's get into some headlines. Headlines from across the state. We're going to be pretty heavy on the high school coaching changes. By the way, the coaching changes should be going up today or tomorrow because of Steps' situation. It's fallen a little bit behind. I know you guys have been asking, but the coaching changes page on TexasFootball.com will be updated today or tomorrow. But there's some big ones to get to. Let's start down in the smallest 11-man classification, and that is that Mart, one of the most decorated programs in Texas high school football, is looking for a new coach.
Yeah.
As Kevin Hoffman has retired after winning 3 state championships there after 7 seasons in charge. He took over back in 2016. He led them to 4 state title games. He won 3. Of course, they went to the state semifinals this year. I saw Coach Hoffman at
the state
championship games.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some things now about our conversation that make a little bit of more sense. Some
Was he
comments
hinting?
made. Yeah, he had been hinting that he didn't want to coach forever. But coaches say that all the time. He's not an old man. I'm sure his wife likes me saying that. But he said that he wants to spend more time with his family. He went 83-8 there. They won 12 games or more every single year that he was the head coach there.
Wild.
That is wild. I do wonder.
Mm-hmm.
So the Mart's going to be a really interesting job. It's a very small town with very high expectations, and you got to know that job inside and out. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see. I bet they go to somebody who with very close ties to the program.
I was going to say, yeah. Do you think it's a promotion, or do you think someone outside?
I could see somebody being promoted from within, or I could see somebody with very close ties to Mart, former player, former coach, something like that, who understands it because it is a unique circumstance.
I did see a Darby Brown, our friend down there at one of the Waco stations, did an interview with Hoff, and she was asking, what are you going to do in retirement? And they were talking about traveling and blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, and I already told Coach Don Hyde, don't be surprised when I show up at 5:30 a.m. just to talk ball.
Yeah,
he was like that. He goes, it's in my blood.
He's going to show up on his doorstep. He's going to be sitting in his truck on the way to practice.
He goes, he said, I know you're up there at 5:30. I'm going to come by.
Anyway, we wish Coach Hoffman the best. He's, of course, a good friend of Dave Campbell's Texas football. And the other thing about Coach Hoffman retiring, I don't know. I keep thinking about how things might be different if they had won in 2020, if Windthorst hadn't upset them. Right. And then I wonder if things would have been different if they had won this year, if they had won 5 in a row, which was they were within a play of winning against Windthorst, and they were within a play or two of winning against Fall City to make it to a title game. Who knows what happens if they get to the title game? Right. But I don't know. That's revisionist history. It's interesting. It's interesting to think about. Other big name openings that are happening. That is Brenham. Yeah. Is open. Brenham is open after Elliott Allen has departed. Elliott Allen has been there for a hot minute. But he is off to take off. He's going to be the athletic director at Bastrop ISD. Bastrop ISD, he's leaving Brenham to go take over there. That's a good job. Brenham's a good job. Brenham is ice cream. Well, okay, sure, yes. Bluebell is there, but perhaps the other thing about them is that this is a program where you can win. They've got great facilities there. They've got great infrastructure there. They're a program that is no stranger to making the playoffs.
Crowd support's fantastic.
They have made the playoffs every single year since 2004. Of course, go ask Glenn West, who was the head coach there for forever before he went over to work at the THSCA. What a good job it is. It is a really interesting job that is on the rise there. Keep an eye on Brenham. I think there's going to be a really good candidate list to see who is going to be the new head coach at Brenham. Next thing on our list is, this came down this weekend, I want to say, and that is that that Wascom is going to be looking for a new coach. Wascom is looking for a new coach as Whitney Keeling is leaving to go take over as the AD and head football coach at Tatum. Quite an interesting development here. Wascom, of course, had a fantastic season this year. They won a pair of state championships under Coach Keeling.
State semifinals this year.
They were state semifinals. They went back-to-back 2014, 2015. They've made it to the state semifinals 5 times in his 12 seasons there with the Wildcats. very, very decorated, coach there, and Coach Keeling, leaving to go take over Tatum. Tatum is a good job. Mm-hmm. Tatum, of course, has had success at the highest levels as well, coming off of an 8-3 season. But yeah, a bit of a shocker there, I thought, because I think Wascom's going to be pretty loaded next year. But that's a really interesting job there. But Whitney Keeling has left Wascom for Tatum. Big news out there in East Texas. Elsewhere in East Texas, deep East Texas, Daryl Barbay is leaving Jasper to go take over at West, I believe it's West Mansfield High School in Louisiana. Now you're probably thinking, wait a second, what's he doing going across state lines? If you know where Jasper is a stone's throw away from Louisiana. Yeah. So this is in many respects like Whitney Keeling moving from Wascom to Tatum.
Is a bigger move.
Kind of a similar move. It's not that far. But of course, Coach Barbay has been there, the head coach since 2012. Very successful there, made the playoffs every single year. And it'll be very interesting. That's another big-time job down there in Jasper with a lot of tradition, a lot of pedigree, and a lot of, look, they've always got athletes. They've always got athletes in a program that I think it's not going to be hard to win there. I think they've got a lot of good infrastructure there. Mm-hmm. So keep an eye on this one. Jasper is now open down there in deep southeast Texas. So keep an eye on that one. Okay, let's move into the college ranks and let's talk a little bit about. And it's going to be hard. It's very hard to keep up with the transfer portal.
Oh, dude, it's going wild right now.
So we're going to do like top level stuff that catches my eye. I'm definitely going to miss a few of these.
If you want more in-depth stuff, go listen to Republic of Football.
Right,
because
exactly.
I guarantee you they'll cover way more stuff about this than we will.
One of them that I think is very interesting, though, and this one really caught my eye, and that is, this was early last week, but O'Shawn Mathis is leaving TCU, or at least has entered the transfer portal to leave TCU. He was arguably, I think this is the biggest loss for TCU if he were in fact to leave. He is, quote unquote, reopening his recruitment, is what he said. He's been there for 4 years. He was a 3-star prospect out of Manor, but has established himself as an absolute superstar, a 2-time all-conference player there off the edge. But he is a big time. That's a big loss for them.
Yeah.
I think you can make an argument that this is a bigger loss than Zach Evans.
Right, yeah, because they actually utilized Mathis every single play, basically.
I thought he was one of their very best players, but obviously, look, I don't want to start, assuming things, but that's what we do on the show.
So why not?
You would have to imagine that he had a pretty tight connection with Gary Patterson.
Absolutely.
And you have to imagine that what has changed there, right? It's just the head coaching and the staff there. And especially given the timing that now it's about a month after Sonny Dykes has arrived there in Fort Worth, you have to imagine that he looked around and said, okay, I'm going to give these new guys a chance. Mm-hmm. He looked around and goes, you know what? I think there's a better opportunity for me elsewhere. He's entered the transfer portal. This is a big loss, I think, for TCU. O'Shawn Mathis was a huge part of that defense.
To the possible new home of Gary Patterson. All of those rumors
that
have been coming around.
Kind of hot and heavy. So that's something certainly to keep an eye on. This is a little bit under the radar, but it came down over the weekend, and that is that Alabama tight end Jaheel Billingsley is transferring to Texas. He entered the transfer portal. He is being reunited with Steve Sarkisian. He had a breakout year back in 2020, I believe, when Sarkisian was the offensive coordinator. He caught 3 touchdown passes. He's a guy from Chicago, but he's going to finish his career there at Alabama with 17 catches, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, but Texas will add another tight end there in Jaheel Billingsley, transferring from Alabama to be reunited with not only Steve Sarkisian, who was the offensive coordinator, but also his position coach was Jeff Banks. Mm-hmm. He was the tight ends coach there at Alabama, now, of course, an assistant coach there at Texas. One more that came down and maybe flew under your radar a little bit, and that is that Texas State has picked up a transfer quarterback in Dylan Markowitz from Syracuse. And if that name rings a bell, and I know it's hard whenever they go off to like the ACC or they go off to
the Pac-12,
or they go off to these far-flung places, and especially, all due respect, but like not the contenders in those conferences.
Exactly.
It's hard to keep up with these guys.
They get lost in the haze.
Exactly right. Dylan Markowitz was the headliner on that McKinney North offense from a couple of years ago that was so high-flying. I thought he was a real steal for Syracuse. He goes up there. I think he's entered the transfer portal. He is now going to come back to Texas, going to go to Texas State. There's a lot of things moving right now. I don't know what the depth chart at the quarterback spot looks like for Texas State right now.
I don't think Texas State knows what the quarterback depth chart for Texas State looks like.
But Dylan Markowitz, I think, is certainly going to have an opportunity to win the job.
Smart kid, too, if he got into Syracuse.
Absolutely. So coming back to Texas, that's something to keep an eye on there. And finally, I want to give a shout-out to a friend of the show. And that is Alex Brown. Did you see this?
Yes, I did. I was the one that sent it in the Slack.
Alex Brown, of course, is now the former director of recruiting at
Rice.
An NFL liaison for Rice.
Hoot.
is going to be the new director of scouting for SMU. So he's going to be a little bit more local to us.
And he's from Dallas, I think. So he's welcome home, is what they kept saying.
I believe that's correct. He is. I believe he's a DFW area guy. He's been there. He was at Houston for 4 years before that, working on the recruiting side. But Alex Brown, of course, he's been a guest on our show, buddy of the program. So congratulations to Alex Brown getting that job there at SMU, moving from Rice over to the Hilltop. Those are some headlines from across the state.
Now we can get him in the actual studio because he's right down the road.
Yeah, buddy. If you think this is going to be, buddy, don't worry. We're going to be asking you,
bugging him as much as possible.
We're at Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at TCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. I got this mug from my brother for Christmas. It's really nice. I like it a lot.
Does the glass not get hot, or is it plastic?
It does get hot, but it actually, so you carry it on the cork. But I will say, as we're now in a coffee mug talk, it is the coffee mug that keeps your coffee at the right temperature. Like, it cools it down fast enough, then it holds. I don't know how it does that, but it's a brilliant.
Yeah, I bought a full ceramic travel size mug like that, and that's great. I was like, oh, this is cute, but it doesn't have a handle on it, and ceramic gets hot, so it really it's not cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Throw it away. Anyway.
We hope you'll consider becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider, TexasFootball.com/subscribe. We'll send you this magazine, the 2021 summer edition of Dave Campbell, or 2021 recruiting edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, featuring Texas A&M signee, right?
Yes, Denver Harris.
Signee, commit.
Commit. I believe.
He's going to A&M. Anyway, this guy, 400 prospects from across the state of Texas. So if you want to check that out, TexasFootball.com/subscribe to become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. All right, Pickle, it's time to roll out the 2021 Whataburger Super Team. Dave Campbell's Texas Football, let me make sure I get this read right. Dave Campbell's Texas Football has partnered with Whataburger to honor some of the best and brightest Texas high school football players from across the state of Texas with the 2021 Whataburger Super Team Award. We announced a 300-player ballot back about a month ago, and then Texas high school football fans, you guys nominated more than 3,000 players on TexasFootball.com. We narrowed it down to 300. We then opened the voting back up to you to honor 40 honorees. Of course, headliners of the 2021 Whataburger Super Team included Texas Southern quarterback Andrew Body from Corpus Christi Miller, Texas receiver Keith Ron Lee from Brian Rudder, Texas A&M offensive lineman Bryce Foster from Katie Taylor, UTSA quarterback Eddie Lee Marburger from Shaolin Pioneer, and Clemson defensive back Andrew Makuba from Austin LBJ. So we want to make sure we are honoring the best and brightest, and who better than you, the viewers, and the Texas high school football fans, to pick the 2021 Whataburger Super Team. We will start on the offensive side, where at quarterback, Brandon Tennyson from Gilmer. At running back, Ernest Davila from Poteet and Ollie Gordon from Euless Trinity. At receiver, Coy Aiken from Stephenville, Dakota Bridges from Hebron, and Nathan Jones from Brock. On the offensive line, Cole Hudson from Frisco, Cam Dewberry from Umbel Atascocita, Jihad Latif from Lubbock Estacado, Joseph Montez from San Antonio Brennan, and Brandon Hinojosa from Edinburgh Vela High School. At the kicker spot, Corbin Poston from Stephenville. The 4 utility spots go to Cade Klubnik from Austin Westlake, Rashawn Sanford from Killeen Harker Heights, Michaelan Young from Midland Legacy, and Kelvin Banks from Umbel Summer Creek. That's on the offensive side. On the defensive side, Defensive line, A.J. Holmes from Spring Westfield, Jeray Bledsoe from Marlin, Christian Thomas from Port Arthur Memorial, and Curly Thomas from Fort Worth Nolan. The linebacker spots, Kip Lewis from Carthage, Kobe McKenzie from Lubbock Cooper, and Harold Perkins from Cy Park. At the defensive back spots, Denver Harris from Galena Park North Shore, Caleb King from San Antonio Veterans Memorial, Bobby Taylor Jr. from Katy, and Landon Hullaby from Mansfield. The punter, Jake Pacina from Sunnyvale. The 4 utility spots on the defensive side, Caden Roden from Quinlan Ford, Amari Abor from Duncanville, Joe Tarvin from Medina Valley, and Terrence Brooks from Little Elm. Then we have, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
8.
6, 7,
It should be
8.
8 fan votes.
8, thank you. 8 that are called the fan votes. Basically, these are the players with the highest vote total that did not make it at their particular position. Think about them as like the wild cards. Those are South Oak Cliff defensive back Kyron Chambers, Shiner defensive lineman Doug Brooks, Austin Westlake offensive lineman Connor Robertson, Manville linebacker Justin Medlock, Klein Kane wide receiver and tight end Matthew Golden, La Vega running back Bryson Rowland, Austin Bowie quarterback Diego Tello, and New Diana kicker Osvaldo Gomez. There they are, the honorees for the 2021 Whataburger Super Team. Congratulations to all the honorees, and thanks to all of you for voting. I think you guys did a pretty good job. This is a tough list to crack, but I think you guys did a pretty good job of putting together a darn good team. I'd go to battle with this team.
Absolutely, man. Those they did a fantastic job because the list of everybody, when you look through it, we look through it here and we're like, I can't believe they're choosing. How do you choose between these guys?
I'm genuinely glad I didn't have to vote.
Exactly.
Like, genuinely glad I didn't have to vote. Genuinely glad I didn't have to pick it. But I think you guys did a pretty good job. Congratulations to the 2021 Whataburger Super Team. For more information, visit texasfootball.com. Okay, Pickle. As you know, I've been off for about a month.
He's been sitting there letting all this football juices brew.
Got all these takes pent up. I had nowhere to put my takes. Sure, I could have tweeted them.
I'm sure. I have a feeling that you were sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning with baby Max going, do you want to talk about UMHB? Because I need to get this off my chest.
Did you hear Pete Fredenberg? Yeah.
That's exactly how I picture this going.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of that. For all we were talking about how was my wife asking, was I ready to come back to work? She was ready for me.
She was like, I'm tired of your takes.
She's like, enough about the recruiting class. So here's what we're going to do. If you will indulge me, I'm going to go through a month of takes in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm going to go through, and I've got these takes that I've been thinking about, been sitting on for about a month.
I'm just glad I can let you get these out to the viewers so I don't have to sit there at my desk and listen to them for the next, 4 hours.
And then we can be done.
Okay. Here we go.
Take number 1. We missed it. I missed this because I was gone. One of the things that I like doing the most is announcing the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year. I didn't have that opportunity this year because I was on paternity leave. You got to announce it. Great job announcing it.
Thank you. I'm going to give a super quick shout out to Mallory because that and the cover reveal every year are probably the most stressful times to sit in this chair and make sure everything goes perfectly, and she crushed it. So shout out Malpal.
As you probably heard, the 2021 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year is China Spring quarterback Major Bowden. The Lamar signee did fantastic leading China Spring to a state championship. This is, in my opinion, the right choice. Now, I have a vote in this, but I don't have the vote in this. Yep. It's not my decision. It's a collaborative effort that we all come together and put together. And I think that we ended up getting the right guy. I think that there was no more valuable player in the state of Texas in 2021 than Major Bowden was to China Spring. And I think let's put it this way. I think China Spring without Major Bowden is a good team, but they're not a state champion.
No, they're not.
I think Major Bowden was the most valuable player in Texas high school football in 2021. That doesn't mean he was the highest rated recruit. That doesn't mean that he's he's the best player. That doesn't mean he's the most likely to go to the NFL. What it means is that in Texas high school football in 2021, he was the most valuable, most important, best for his team player. In Texas, I think we made the right choice on China Spring quarterback Major Bowden, and I did get the opportunity. One of the things I did have to do, I got to call Brian Bell because I called Brian Bell, the now former head coach. Another thing I missed.
What a time it's been.
Now former head coach at China Spring. I called him to let him know that we were going to select Major as the Michigan Football Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. He was so fired up. He was already at Baylor at that point, but he was so fired up. I needed Major's number. Mm-hmm. He was so fired up. So I called Major and I got to tell him that he was the player of the year, and he was very excited, very humbled by it.
And he went to the game. He went to the
game.
Texas Bowl.
I did tell him, and we love our friends at the Texas Bowl. I did tell him, I was like, hey man, you need to make sure you go to this thing because you get a big old trophy.
Yeah.
That's a big old trophy. And so it was exciting for him, and I think we made the right choice there with Major Bowden. That's one. All right, here's another take. Spent a lot of time watching bowl games. Guys, bowl games are bad data points.
Oh, yeah.
We got to quit paying attention to them that much. Yes, of course, you want your team to win.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as predictive for 2021, and I think you hear this a lot from announcers who have who don't have anything else to say, that it's important for momentum. It's important to be on the good foot going into the next year.
Absolutely.
I think especially now, with players moving a little bit more often, with the coaches moving more, with everything more in flux, with off seasons being more chaotic as they are. I just think that, and especially now especially with players who are opting out of bowl games, things like that. I think that you just should not read a ton into how bowl games went. So Texas Tech won the Liberty Bowl. Mm-hmm. Good for them. That's great, but there's so much flux going on at Texas
Most
Tech.
of those coaches are leaving.
Yes, yeah. The guy who is the head coach is now going to be the head coach at Louisiana Tech. So there's just a lot of movement. I just don't read that much. There was a big conversation online and big conversation among the college football, Twitterati about, are there too many bowl games? I don't think there's too many bowl games, but I also think that you don't have to read into every little bowl game and what does that mean for the future. I just don't think it says all that much. I think they're bad. I think they're the least reliable data points as far as projecting forward.
The prime situation in this, looking back to last year's bowl season to how it went this year, is Casey Thompson came in the Alamo Bowl last year and lit it up, and everyone is like, the quarterback thing at Texas is solved. Flash forward to this year, it was not solved.
I would just say, on the bowl game, if your team won, if your team lost, or in a situation like A&M, if your team didn't play, don't worry. Speaking of A&M, my next take. A&M's historic recruiting class is a bellwether. So perhaps you heard, but Texas A&M put together their best ever recruiting class. Mm-hmm. The number, I believe, according to most metrics,
number one in the nation. They have 6 5-stars.
Yeah, according to most metrics. I haven't looked at everyone, but everywhere that I've looked at of people whose opinion I value have said it's the best recruiting class in the nation. It is obviously impressive what they've been able to do. I think that this is really an important moment for Texas A&M and for the future of college football and what it looks like. And here's what I mean by that. What I mean by that is, A, you've got the number one recruiting class in the nation. That's awesome. Now you got to go win with it, right? Well, it's all potential. Now you got to that's potential energy. You got to turn into kinetic energy. That's one. The other thing is, how much inertia is there from one recruiting class to another? Does one top recruiting class get you another one, get you another one, get you another one? We'll find out. Furthermore, we will also find out in this new landscape with the transfer portal, in this new landscape with much more player autonomy, what this means. And I'm very interested in seeing how they play in 2022. I am very interested when we go into 2023 and we're talking about that. I want to see what impact that recruiting class is having at that point. How many, let's be frank, how many have stuck around, right? Because in an age where there's a lot more player autonomy, having this recruiting class is huge. It's massive. It's massive. What does it mean going forward? The answer, I think, is more unclear than in the past. That in 1997, if you got the nation's number one recruiting class, you're feeling really stinking good about everything moving forward. For A&M, having the number one recruiting class in the nation is obviously great. You would very much prefer to have the number one recruiting class in the nation than the number 130. But there are more... there's more uncertainty with it than there has been in the past. This is a new era of college football, and so this recruiting class is so important to determining what college football is going to look like going forward and how important recruiting is. Because there's a real argument to be said that, like, high school recruiting now is a little bit overrated. That, like, if you're going and you're saying, well, I'm just going to go get guys in the transfer portal and stuff like that, go portal shopping. We'll find out, because this is a unbelievable recruiting class.
I think
if they're able to hold it together and it's able to live, and if it's able to play to their paper, watch stinking out.
I'm also very interested to see how much NIL affects this, like how much this class affects NIL. I think that this has a big potential to say, if you will pay the money to go get the big guys and you win, then great. But if you get big guys and you spend all this money on them and then they don't really pan out in college, does that change the shape of this brand new NIL era as well?
Yeah, I think that you're right. I'm very interested to see how that works out. Okay. Next one. Pete Frenberg retired. Mm-hmm. I don't think we talk enough about what a good coach and what a good program builder Pete Frenberg is. Led them to three national championships. A tremendous coach. A guy who took who took a program that is really UMHB was an okay program, and he took them to heights that they had never seen before. Mm-hmm. Like, they are the preeminent Division III program in the nation.
They're the Alabama of D3 right now.
Not just because they're the national champion right now, but because of the standard that they've set there and that Pete Frenberg helped to set there. I don't think we appreciate him enough.
No.
I don't think we appreciate what he was able to do there at UMHB, and he will certainly be missed. Big shoes to fill there at UMHB, but that is a guy who is woefully underrated.
They promoted their DC, I believe.
Okay, I must have missed that. I've been a little bit off the radar. But yes, Pete Frenberg, woefully underrated. Finally, here's my hottest take.
Scorching.
I think we need to have a conversation about college football and the brand of college football and whether or not it's getting stronger or it's getting weaker.
Okay.
So let's run back through the most recent, obviously, okay, how do I want to say this? Obviously,
you've been letting this one simmer, I can tell.
Okay. Obviously, this is when you take a look at who has won the national championship the past, 8 years, right? Okay. Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Clemson, Alabama, Clemson, Alabama. Even if you skip over Ohio State, you get to Florida State, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, LSU, Florida.
So there's three in total that haven't been SEC.
So basically you've had one, and I'm not even talking about the SEC. I'm talking about the Southeast. Not the Southeast Conference, Southeast sector of the
We're talking literal geography.
Literal geography. And you take a look at all of those teams, they all reside in the same part of the country. Basically, Ohio State is an outlier. And by the way, look at the teams that they beat, right? Georgia beat Alabama, right? Alabama's beaten Georgia. LSU, who did LSU beat?
Clemson.
I think it was Clemson, right? There's Clemson, and it's all these teams there in the southeast part of the country. That's, of course, like wherever the great teams are, they deserve to play. Alabama and Georgia earned their way to the national championship game. That's, of course, very important. What I'm telling you is that if football is only relevant at the highest level in one part of the country, that's not good for college football.
No.
And by the way, the television ratings bear this out. Okay? Television ratings for college football and the college football playoff are sinking. They're shrinking. They are going the wrong direction. If you want college football to be a big, robust, popular sport, and I want that to be the case, and there's an argument to be made. We can certainly talk about whether or not Texas is in the southeast, right? I'm not even talking about the conference. Then I think that the onus, there has to be more geographical parity for college football to avoid becoming a regional sport. Okay?
That's fair.
Because what you're going to see is the West Coast just check out, or you're going to see the Midwest just check out, or the Northeast just check out. And that's going to be ultimately that is going to lower the tide for the sport of college football. And so, yeah, I think it's really important that Lincoln Riley does a good job at USC.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for Oregon to be competitive. I think it's really important for Ohio State to stay competitive. I think it's really important for Michigan. I think it's really important for programs in other parts of the country to get up to that level of competing for national championships. And by the way, this ain't going to go away with college football playoff expansion. Ultimately, there has to be, if college football is going to be the big, robust, popular sport nationwide, it's going to be a national sport, and not just because you can think about some other sports that are popular in certain parts. Think about NASCAR. NASCAR is very popular in certain parts of the country and a non-factor in other parts of the country.
Right, and then
that would be a net negative for college football.
Right, and then you look at college basketball per se. Why does everyone buy into March Madness so much? Well, it's because there's teams from all across the nation.
Correct.
Every single person tunes in. If you look at the top 25 right now, every single section of the state has someone in there.
Yes, I think that it's a very tough spot that college football is in. Because obviously, look, like we appreciate dominance, right? Like watching Georgia go out there and do that was impressive. I think Clemson, whenever they were cooking with Trevor Lawrence, was impressive. LSU with Joe Burrow, like a historic offense. Those types of things. Alabama needs no introduction, right? But if you want college football, the sport overall, to thrive, the sport's got to get out of one region of it can't just be in one region of the country.
I'm tired of watching Alabama play in the stinking national championship.
I heard that. You hear that a lot. You heard how many people, when it became Alabama versus Georgia, go, okay.
Great. Here we go again. Yep.
Right?
It's the same thing. For years, it was Alabama-Clemson. It's like we're tired of seeing it.
And that, by the way, that's nobody's fault.
No.
They're not saying that there's somebody to blame here. What I'm saying is that if you want college football to be the big, robust national sport that it can be, if you want it to be the NFL, right? Then there has to be interest from all across the country, not just in one part of the country.
Right.
So there you go. Those are some takes I've been sitting on. Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.
Do you feel better?
I do. I feel cathartic.
Okay, get some of that out of your system.
I've been thinking about that ever since I sat down and watched Alabama and Georgia. I was like, I bet the ratings for this suck, and I bet that there's going to be. But it's an uncomfortable conversation to have.
Oh, yeah.
It's an uncomfortable conversation because you don't want to denigrate what those programs are doing. They're obviously doing great, but if you want college football to be as big and robust and popular as possible, you got to get it. You got to find a way to make it so that there's more parity.
And that goes straight back to your A&M conspiracy theory stuff, of the recruiting. How does this work? Bringing everyone in. And so it's funny how it's all
I mean,
one giant circle.
Texas A&M, again, we can have a conversation as to whether or not Texas A&M qualifies as Southeast. That's more, but that would certainly fit into that same part of the. What I'm talking about,
we need a Pac-12. We need
exactly right. You need
a Big Ten.
There are big population centers that are presently not engaged in college football, and it's only getting worse with every year that we get Georgia versus Alabama or Alabama versus Clemson.
My actual final thought here, and we talked about this a little bit, but I'll let you kind of reiterate if someone needs a different voice to say it. But a lot of people in the comments are asking why we didn't give Cade Klubnik the Mr. Texas Football, and I think there's two things. One,
well, I don't think he's any good.
Yeah, just awful. One,
give me the camera.
We're joking.
That's a joke. Cade Klubnik's in fact, I've got a buddy who's a Clemson guy, and coming up during that state championship, in the second half of that state championship game where they were winning their third straight title, I texted him and I said, by the way, just to let you know, Cade Klubnik, he is the one who was promised. He's the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
And he is.
We like him a lot.
That goes a lot into it. One, if you, like we said with Major, if you take him out, I don't think China Spring gets anywhere close to the state championship. If you take Cade Klubnik out, are they near as explosive? No.
Which, by the way,
they have,
He also missed a couple.
That's what I'm saying, and that goes into the second point of the fact is he missed 6 games throughout the season. So it's kind of hard for us to give our full year-round Player of the Year to a guy who unfortunately was out.
If you're asking
for
me
that long,
if you're asking me who is the player that is most likely to go in the NFL draft, it might be a guy like Denver Harris. It might be a guy like Cade Klubnik. It might be a guy like there's definitely an offensive line like Cam Dewberry.
Yeah.
It might be a guy like that. If you're asking me who was the most outstanding high school football player and the most valuable high school football player in the state in 2021, I think it was Major Bowden.
Yeah, and that's what the award is.
That's what it is.
So
and so there are other awards that I think there are other awards that I think do it backwards, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but there are other awards who I think do it backwards, where they think, how is this going to age?
Yes.
And in that case, you might as well disqualify a guy like our Rio Grande Valley Prince, right?
ELM.
Or no, even before him.
Gilpin.
Yeah.
Landry
Gilpin. You might as well disqualify him. Because here's the thing. Landry Gilpin, he went to Southwestern.
Yeah.
Right? But I think everybody who watched Landry Gilpin looked at him and said, that's the most valuable player in high school football.
Yeah, and that's
right?
what we do here.
I think I would rather our award be something that reminds people of how great a player was in high school than it is that we gave it to Kyler Murray twice, which we did, right?
Right.
But like sometimes there's that confluence and other times it's not. And I think we looked at Major Bowden and what he brought to the table for China Spring. I think he was the most outstanding player in Texas high school.
I agree.
Reasonable people can disagree. There's other people who are.
We think Cade Klubnik is a super great player.
Yeah.
But just he wasn't the right fit for the award.
So there you go. That's going to do it for us. It's good to be back. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day
welcome
with us.
back, bud.
Follow us on Twitter. You don't mean that. Follow us on Twitter at
really.
TCTF. Like us on Facebook. Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram. Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. I can't believe you didn't come get it.
I know. Erin said that she was going to just take it home. She was like, it's mine now. Tepper's not here to tell me no.
Yeah.
But she didn't.
Yeah.
So.
For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll be back tomorrow on Texas Football Today.